that revelation right there had given me life. The scales had finally come off of my eyes. And a lot of smoke began to settle. And I was like, all right, what happened? Lord, what happened? We left Florida. We both agreed we were going to start over in Jersey, South Jersey to be exact. We went through the first beautiful months of our lives together. I mean, we were even working together in the same company, in his company, but I had his back and I was there supporting him and doing his public relations. What happened? What happened? I was taken and caught off guard. Why did the enemy want us again so bad? Then it dawned on me. He was roaming to and from, seeking to devour us again. But this time, all hell had broken loose. He had declared a war. And it wasn't only on my marriage, it was also now on my children. By this time, all of us had been exposed to so much darkness. This time he had been exposed to the darkest forces of the Atlantic City area, which is the amount of numerous clubs, nightlife, lust, you name it, it was there. And my kids were seeing this. My kids were older. And I just didn't understand why the enemy would just not leave me and my family alone. A lot of dust began to settle. And my prayers and my warfare just got stronger. Because I realized that although it hurt me as a mother to leave my children, God was positioning me for warfare. See, I didn't have to get up and do as much for them anymore. And not everyone has that ability. But right then and there, at that time, at that place, at that point in my life, this is how that time was designed for me. You see, I used to beat myself up a lot because people would, of course, naysayers and just, people used by the enemy would throw in my face that I abandoned my children. But what they didn't realize is I had to make a choice. Whether this is how I was going to position myself in the meantime to get my head right and see my kids occasionally while I was going home to where I was staying at the time to war in the spirit, or if I was going to see my kids in a psychiatric facility, in jail, or they were going to come visit me in a cemetery. Because at this point in my life, in my relationship, in my marriage, that could have been the end result. But God. Now I was beginning to realize in my prayer closet that God would arise and that his enemies would be scattered. The need for prayer, consecration, fasting was crucial right now. The burden of standing in the gap for my family was weighing on me so heavy, including him, because I was just seeing how the enemy just wanted to devour him. Now, without a spiritual life, this man is a man full of wisdom, insight, and some good qualities, because that's why I married him. But when you worship vanity and many other things that are not of the Spirit, it will overtake you and destroy you and everything around you. But in this case, there was a praying proverbial woman who had no choice but to pray for herself, to pray for her children, and even her husband, because he wasn't my ex at that time. We were still married. And I said, Lord, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what you're going to do. But in the meantime, I do have to pray for him, and I do have to have compassion for him. To the point that I even prayed for his sexuality. I began to read The Power of a Praying Wife for like the third or fourth time. And I just broke down in my car as I was reading the prayer. I believe it's in chapter 4, for a safe and whole sex life. Even if it wasn't me again, and it was for whatever future woman God had in store for him. A healthier sex life I was praying for at the time, for my husband, even if in the future, his future, it wasn't with me. Now I know God was moving and doing big things, because at this time I wanted God's will for all of our lives more than anything. And on top of that, I needed to understand that whatever it is, whatever was out of order in his life, whatever generational curses were going on in his life, needed to be severed and broken, never to rise up again, and never to touch my children and my children's children for generations to come. I wasn't doing this personally. The Spirit was prompting me to do all of this, and I didn't understand it, but I was just being obedient in my time of consecration, in my time of isolation, in my time of being alone, in my time of being broken in order to be built back up. You see, the enemy had declared war. He declared war on me. He declared war on my family. And even though the war hadn't been won yet, in the natural, battles were being won, one at a time, to the point where around this time, weeks later, a woman had gotten in contact with me and told me she was expecting one of his children, a child of his. Now, before that was manifested, these were things that would torment me and would drive me to be a distressed housewife that would scream, that would fight, that would cry, that would throw things, break things, and contribute to causing havoc in the home. And by this time, it was a whole different ball game. Because when I heard this from someone's mouth on the other end, I couldn't believe that my response to her was to have the child and give it to me. For the simple reason that it had my children's DNA. It would have been another soul for the kingdom. And I also told her, and God is my witness, I said, please do not have an abortion. I will do whatever it is in my power to make sure that your child is raised appropriately. And she said, well, the decision was made already. I just wanted to let you know what you're dealing with. I said, oh yeah, honey, I know what I'm dealing with. I know what I'm dealing with. But also know what you're dealing with. You're dealing with brokenness just like me right now. You're dealing with emptiness. But aside from that, I do want to let you know that God does not condone abortions. And that's not, as a woman of God, what I want for you and your child. She just began to cry and she said, thank you for being such a kind woman in this time. Once I got off of that phone call, it was like hearing the sound of trumpets. I had taken another step to becoming the woman of valor that I was aspiring to be. A woman that didn't have to get on the phone and curse another woman out and meet her to fight and belittle her because we were both in turmoil. To think that years prior, twice, I did 24 hours here in Hillsborough County for domestic violence. And in addition to the Spirit renewing me at that time, and a lot of other times where I could have flew off the handle in a way that I could have ended up back in jail. What I had went through twice those 24 hours were glimpses of things that I needed to avoid. And I just continue to see how absolutely everything was continuing to work for my good. And when I hung up the phone that day, I heard the Spirit say that weapon formed against you is not going to prosper. And then weeks later, I received an email that the pregnancy had been terminated. And I felt terrible. I felt terrible because these were innocent lives, numerous. My family, hers, and her baby lives that the enemy continue to rob, kill, and destroy. I'm not talking about an enemy made of flesh. I'm not talking about an earthly enemy. I'm talking about Satan. And right then and there, I stood up in the spirit. And I did stand up in the flesh, and I just began to pray and warfare. And told him, the way you continue to come for my heart, for my mind, for my physical health, my life, for every tear I continue to cry, for every tear and night that I'm without my children, I am gonna snatch a soul back from you. And I'll never forget, I made that declaration that day because I was tired. I was tired of him coming for me. I was tired of him robbing me, stealing my joy, stealing my peace, stealing my children's peace, and even trying to kill my husband at the time. Now that I was able to face and overcome that fear that I had with the many giants that were showing up, now that I had the authority to slay them in the spirit, I also cut off the head, never to come back again. Now I was a force to be reckoned with. And I had made up in my mind for the last time that I was going to wage war on absolutely every principality that not only was coming up against me and my family, but against women of God all over the world that were suffering just like me.
This book is dedicated to every woman who has loved hard, faithfully, honestly, and wholeheartedly while giving her life as a ransom, and in return was judged, cheated, rejected, mocked, despised, hated, and persecuted. My prayer for you is that you begin to learn displaying strength, held under control, while keeping your power in reserve and allowing God's grace to mold you, laughing at the days to come, understanding the weapons of your warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God. The Man of My Dreams, written by Nirene Pomales, available on Amazon and ValorCouture.com.